Indiana's own Dana Black coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Normally when I do my specials, I don't spend a lot of time ranting about things because, it's usually a more condensed show and I like to give the person I'm interviewing a little bit more time. But unfortunately today, I have to say something. There is no way that I can let May 26th go by without talking about the events that we have witnessed in both New York and in Minneapolis. And unfortunately, we've seen multiple events like this all over our country, including in my great city of Indianapolis. I know that one of the things that's great about activists and people with the bullhorns who are bringing attention to issues in our streets is that they bring awareness, right? They bring awareness to an issue that maybe the lawmakers aren't necessarily familiar with. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they weren't aware. Well, we know racism everybody's aware of. We know this. So we're not, confused. But even with video for a long time, a lot of people didn't understand that police violence in black neighborhoods or, people calling while black people are just living their lives was something they didn't believe until it was on video, right? But the thing about this is, after we're done with the bullhorn, after we are done raising awareness to issues that are impacting whatever community it is, the next step is to adjust policy. We have to adjust public policy. And the only way that you can adjust public policy is to adjust the policy makers. If you want to see body cams on every police officer, then you need to make sure that you're electing a city county council or a city council or a county council, a mayor's office that is making sure those things are being heard and being accounted for. If you feel like your municipality cannot afford it, then we need to talk to the members of our state house to provide that kind of funding for public safety. I woke up this morning and I went on Twitter and my heart broke because not only did you have somebody in New York blatantly saying, I'm going to call the police and tell them a black man is trying to kill me because you're telling me to put a leash on my dog. And then we see the video of the man with a knee on his neck, literally dying, getting killed on the video. So basically what New York chick was trying to make happen is what actually happened in Minnesota. It could have happened in New York, but it didn't. Thank goodness he videotaped it. These police officers, one of which has been involved in police action shootings for the last 12 years on different occasions since 2008. But if video was not there, they would have told us, oh man, he must have had a health problem and he died. But if you really want to change, now see, in Minneapolis, they had a mayor that said, oh, we fixing this. We're not having any of this. This is not going down. They had a police chief that addressed it and 4 men were fired. 4 police officers because their actions were not lawful. But here's the deal. I get angry and I get frustrated because I see what is happening. But the way we can't, listen, you don't have what it takes to go change heart and minds all of the time. But sometimes there's just got to be, consequences for abhorrent behavior. Sister girl lost her job. Police officers lost their job. Hopefully the DA is looking into this. But this is how we solve these problems. Just like when we wanted to vote, when women wanted to vote, we changed the Constitution. When people of color were being denied the right to vote, we went and we petitioned and we made sure the 1964 Civil Rights Act and 65 Voting Rights Act came to pass. Now that I've got my activists bringing awareness to everything that's happening around our country, even more every day, we know this stuff is out here. Now we have to take the next step, y'all. We can't just stay in the streets. We got to get in the state houses and the municipal buildings and the federal house and Congress and Senate to change the laws to protect people. That's the only way we're going to solve these problems. That's why when you say you're going to withhold your vote, listen, somebody's going to win the election, whether you choose to vote or not. But if you come out en masse and you do the research and you figure out which candidate speaks to your value system the most, that's who you vote for. No candidate is perfect. The only candidate that you're going to find that's perfect is when your name is on the ballot. And if you figure out later on down the road that there isn't anyone for you to vote for that speaks to your value system, then put your own self on the ballot. You can do it. I did it. And in 2016, when I saw that I didn't have anyone to vote for against Brian Bosma because he was steadily passing RFRA and doing everything that he had to do to pass RFRA, I wanted to cast a vote against him. He wasn't there. There was no Democrat for me to vote for. So I ran myself. Yeah, I lost. Sure I did. I got my behind beat, really. But the next time somebody ran, she got more votes than I did. And this year, the person that's running will get more votes than Poonam did. If we want to fix what is wrong in our country, because we have the infrastructure in place to make the necessary changes to make America great, to make Indiana great, the way everybody swear they want it to be great, is to be involved in the political process. You have got to be involved in the political process. You have to make sure you know who your policymakers are. And if you don't like your policymakers, then you need to change them. I'm sorry, Dave. I had to get that one out, sir. Senator,
that's all right.
I had to get that one out. My heart was heavy. I literally was crying this morning when I saw what was happening in my country and to my fellow citizens. This is unnecessary. But, y'all, I've been watching this senator for a few years. One of the reasons why is because he speaks to issues that matter to Hoosier families. He's got a long list of things that he works on. Let me just give you the list of committees that the senator sits on. He's on the Appropriations Committee. He's on the Environmental Affairs Committee. He's the ranking minority member of Pensions and Labor. He's on the Rules and Legislation Committee. And he's a member of the Tax and Fiscal Policy Committee. Y'all, give it up for my turn left guest tonight, Senator Dave Niedzgodski. I always mess it up, and I apologize. My tongue don't really work right on that one.
Far closer than many.
Representing District 10 out of St. Joe County. Senator, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Dana. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And I'll just say, dang, that was no rant. You can call it whatever you want, but I mean, quite seriously, you just spoke truth to a reality. You know, I don't know anyone that couldn't wake up today and just be sickened to have to see that. And, you know, when they first prompt you and they tell you, you know, we want to warn you that this might be offensive, what you're going to see, already you start to get that kind of feeling that's kind of sinks in and thinking, oh no, what is this going to be? And then it actually goes this even far past that feeling, because what we saw today was it hurts your senses in such a way it just offended you, and so much further than that, because a person died, you know, and that stuff, when we were growing up, you wouldn't even see that stuff on TV. You're right, and they wouldn't allow that type of thing to be put on, and that's also at times when you really wouldn't know what took place. But the thing is, for our kids and everyone that has to witness this, but the whole point is that this is a sole individual. This person may not have been doing something right, but it said he was being detained for a forgery attempt. Is that really what takes place when someone is trying to, if they're breaking the law? Is that how, you know, I didn't see the other part where apparently he, tried to resist, but it's still, there has to be something along that. It's unbelievable. And I don't know where society really starts intervening in its way to, in a way saying, you know, everyone has so much fear in them, because I won't say everyone. And you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
though?
yeah.
We have to deal with this on a day-by-day basis. And we want to feel like, how do we stop this? We do our best. We try to legislate different laws. But this is just senseless. It's unforgivable. And justice does need to be done on this. It's just not right. And in New York, I didn't even really get a chance to read the whole thing, but this was someone that apparently was bird watching. Is that what
Yeah,
I
he was
saw?
bird watching, and apparently this sanctuary is a well-known place for the bird watchers to go, and they
Yeah.
have it posted. Please put your
Oh,
dog on a leash because of the foliage and the things that people have planted. So there was a
yeah.
real reason for the leash, and she was just offended that somebody told her to put the leash on. That she's like, and literally said, "I am going to call the police and tell them an African American man is threatening me." So she knew what she was doing. She knew she was weaponizing
Yeah.
his blackness. And then
Yeah.
she turned it on just like that with the crocodile tears.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
I am one to always tell people I believe her, right? But when I see
Yeah.
what I just saw, and when I know the history in America where there are the Emmett Tills of the world, man, look, I'm just saying, why wasn't she given a fine, a ticket, or something immediately for calling in 911 on this man? And basically,
Yeah.
you and then what really got me, Senator, what really got me was when I was reading, you read social media, and folks were more upset about the dog being choked than the black man being choked by the police. It was
Um,
just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want anything to happen
yeah.
to dogs. Don't get me
No,
wrong.
I know. I understand exactly what you're saying,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, but enough about that.
Am I on video right now? Because my screen just went black.
Yeah, I'm still here. I still got you too. I still
Okay,
got you.
well, that's a good thing. I don't. Okay, here we go.
There we go. I still got you. So you know what, Dave? Tell the people. I'm gonna call you Senator because that's what you've earned it.
No, that's cool.
I know when we're in private places or Democratic events, you're very cordial. Tell the people who you are and where you come from.
I'm an extremely open person. I look at myself as a common sense individual. I'm the part owner. I'm not trying to do plugs for my business tonight either, but I'm now the part owner. I was the full owner, but I'm bringing my children to a business of a family plumbing business that has been in South Bend for this year. It's 98 years. We're a union plumbing business. And so I believe that I really know the pulse of our community. When I first got involved, I ran for a seat on the county council, and I really believe that, I just as a regular person believe that I may be able to do just as good of a job as those that were sitting up there making decisions on the county council. I ran for that, and it was a very, very difficult election, but I won by 50 votes. Wow. So I know what our democracy means, and I know how important it is for people to go out and vote, because that's what we're going to be looking at in November. Yeah. We're going to have to get out and vote, and we're going to have to change things. But I started on the county council. I served a very short period of time as a county commissioner. And in 2016, in 2006, I had my first opportunity to run for the state house, and I won that. And so 2007 was my first year served. I served 10 years in the House, and as you say, I have been a strong advocate for pensions for Hoosiers, for good health care. Right now, we're all fighting for better pay for teachers, but I've been a tireless advocate for working people. And lately, now I'm in the Senate, so it's been 10 years in the House. This is my first term as a state senator. I've also started to get involved in some child issues with DCS and advocating for, what I believe, as another whole segment of our state, our state's most vulnerable, or those children that have homes where they've been abused or hurt, and they could be addicted to drugs. The bottom line is, for families wanting to adopt these children and give them loving homes, we've got to do everything we can to try to help them. So those are some of the issues I've been getting involved in. And just lately, this last session was my first year on the education committee. So learning, obviously we've all seen and known all the different education issues that have come about in the last several years, but being on that committee is a whole different thing because it's just coming straight at you.
Absolutely. And one of the things that really drew me, I had been, I watched and seen what everybody was doing. But when I started to pay attention to and recognize a lot of your advocacy work and your legislation and your bills when it comes to adoptive parents and foster kids, that really hit my heart, because I'm an adopted child. And I know how I know how blessed I was to have loving parents to care for me. And a lot of the legislation that you were introducing basically was saying, listen, these kids need loving homes. Sometimes the parents that want to give these kids loving homes need just a little bit of help. Let's
Right,
help them
right.
out. What motivated you to get involved in that area of family and taking care of kids like that?
I actually had a constituent talk to me on Foster Parents Day about 4 years ago. Came to the state house and started talking about some of the difficulties. And this person was a parent already fostering children, and I think had already adopted a couple. But this person also was blind. Now he
Mm-hmm.
was married. I also had another bill this year that was
Mm-hmm.
for fostering or adoption for parents with disabilities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's just so many people out there that they have every opportunity to give these children the same loving homes, but they may need a little extra assistance, like you say. So that's what really was the beginning of me starting to delve a little deeper into this. And I've always been interested in this type of legislation, but to actually be carrying it, you begin carrying it, you start talking with so many more individuals, and it starts to fill your heart because you want to be able to help. For parents that want to adopt children with special needs,
Mm-hmm.
the needs of those children when they're fostering these children, these children have all sorts of needs. And special needs does not mean developmentally disabled children.
Mm-hmm.
It could mean that they came from homes where they witnessed just terrible things. They
Mm-hmm.
may have been hurt themselves. They may need some type of social help with social services people, and these needs they have, they're not going to go away that quick. So the needs of the children aren't going to change, and the financial status of the of parents that are fostering wishing to adopt isn't going to change.
Right. Right.
So in a lot of cases, what happens when these parents were fostering the children, when they go to adopt, that DCS would come in and they would say, okay, we've got to negotiate because you were receiving a subsidy. I'll just use as an example. It goes all over the book, but they may have been receiving $30 a day while they're fostering
Mm-hmm.
this child in need of these services. And when they go to adopt and said, I don't know how they spell it out or exactly, but they'll say, well, you love the children now, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to adopt them.
Mm-hmm.
So $2 a day ought to be enough.
Right.
That's not
No.
enough. And when I first got to the legislature, I think it may have happened in the first or second year while I was there, but it was during the Governor Daniels administration. They actually were giving at that point 75% of the subsidies. I think that's what it was. 75% of the subsidies. That's what they were giving the adoptive parents. Then they took that away and they started this negotiation process. All I ask is put a 50%, a mandatory 50%. It can go higher, but it cannot go any lower. I thought we have to start somewhere, but for the children that need these subsidies, we can't make it harder for people to adopt children like that. That's not what we should be doing. We should be making it easier and doing everything we could for the children that need our help the most in the state of Indiana.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it's interesting that the Daniels administration wanted to go into a negotiation process when they did. The Daniels administration came in and said, "We're getting rid of all unions." We're not going to have any unions to negotiate with, but we want to negotiate with foster parents. I
That
don't understand.
immediately
Yeah,
with the teachers, I know.
yeah, that's
Collective bargaining rights, I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it now? See, you are a business owner, and you're a business owner of a union shop.
Yes.
Talk about why it's important for you to continue to support labor unions when obviously you could skimp out, hire cheap
Yeah.
labor, but you choose to have a union shop. Talk about why
Everything.
that's important to you.
First of all, let me preempt that by saying, there are some very good businesses. It's not all just about union businesses.
Right.
There are a lot of businesses out there that treat their employees very, very well. But from my perspective, as a union employer, I know that my employees, they're going to have the same type of things like in benefits and their health insurance package, that it's going to be the exact same package that I have. My employees are going to have every chance to be able to raise their families. They're going to be able to have a disposable income. They're going to have a good retirement program. And when in my industry, I work in plumbing and plumbers and pipe fitters, local 172. So we're in that kind of industry. when you've worked all your years, and I did a great many years also. I don't work as much as I did, but when you've beaten your body to the point that
Mm-hmm.
there are certain things that just don't work as well,
Yeah.
you know what? You're going to need that health
Yeah.
insurance. You're going to
Yeah.
need good coverage, and you're also going to want to see your children go to college. You're going to want to hope that you can pay for a portion and not have to rely on student loans to the degree we have to today. So I know that all my employees are going to have they're going to have a good life. Just speaking for me, I grew up in the workforce. I worked outside a good portion of my life, but I did emergency leaks for the South Bend Waterworks.
Mm-hmm.
We That's part of what we do. We've done that for, geez, I think we've done that for close to 47 years right now. And that's where there's a couple businesses in South Bend that are called out to do emergency repairs. And I think we've had it that long. I don't think, I know we have, because we get there, we do the job, we get it done, we get it done right. But you know what? I'll tell you what. Through the years, I've had two new knees now. I've had two shoulder.
Surgeries,
Yeah,
replacement,
the
car.
new cuff surgeries. Right now, I just got lost for the word.
Oh, rotator
Rotator
cuff. Yeah.
surgery. So I did this personally. Nobody made me do it,
Mm-hmm.
but and with our employees, it's just a hard job that they
Yeah.
have. So I'm not saying we beat them up. I mean, but the job
It,
does that to you.
yeah. Yeah.
So our employees are paid well. They've got good lives. They work hard. They're strong and capable, and they're great parents. And again, it's not just about unions. I'm going to tell you what. That's one thing I've learned in the legislature too. I just don't speak upon just union the workforce and unions. It's all about businesses that take care of their employees,
Okay.
and I believe everyone should have a seat at the table. And usually when I talk, that's how I talk. But obviously, I am a union person, and I do believe strongly what union training does. The apprenticeship programs, I believe they're second to none. But I'm just all about all working men and women.
Absolutely. And I see, I think that is amazing. I like that. I like the way you framed that. You didn't put it on the unions to make sure that they're doing everything that they're supposed to do. You also said, hey, business owners, your job is to take care of your employees, because when you take care of
That's
your
right.
employees, they will take care of you.
They're gonna give you a good day's work. You're gonna become a family. I mean, I know some small business is considered 500 employees and fewer. That's a large business for me. We have a business that has 18 employees. I'm one of those employees. So inside the shop, that the ones that go out on the jobs every day, and inside the office, we've got a total of 18 people.
Wow.
We are a family. That is what our business is, and I want everyone to want to be here. I want to know if they're having any kind of problems on the job or anything like that, or if they have problems at home. Sometimes those things can be taken on the job. You want to make sure that people are doing okay, and because of that, what we also have through our union, we have a good EAP program. So
Mm.
a lot of other businesses too, do too. And so that's what I'm promoting. I'm promoting working men and women. And yes, with the lifestyle I've chosen to be a union employer, and I hire union people. And
So
that's what I feel strongly.
absolutely. And so during this COVID, I hope your family, and I forget to ask sometimes, I hope you and your family are doing well.
We are,
And I hope
yeah,
all your
yes, thank
teammates,
you. I hope yours is too.
yeah, yeah, and all your teammates in the shop are doing well.
They are,
When they
yes.
were passing down, I don't know how this COVID has impacted your business, but I imagine there's been a slowdown.
There
Um,
absolutely has been a slowdown, yes. We are fortunate. We are considered an essential business, and uh, we're serving the public in the way that they need us. So I feel very fortunate that we have the opportunity to do that. But I'll tell you what, the phone is pretty silent most of the time. We are doing some different quotes for different people that are calling upon different needs that they have, but
mhm.
most of it, it's emergency service, and people have needs that cannot be, they're sanitary needs.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
the water line breaks, or your water heater's flooding in the basement, or your sewer's blocked up, that's not something we want to add to this pandemic if you're not able to take care of those situations.
And
So
and again, you're bringing up so many good things that I'm segueing. Talk about the importance of these trade skills. I know that education is such a huge conversation, right? And
absolutely.
I don't ever. I get leery when I hear people say not everybody should go to college because it says not everybody should get some post secondary education. I believe everybody needs post secondary education, but talk about how important it is to have those skilled trades and making sure that we're educating people who are better with their hands than they
Absolutely.
are with
Yes.
equations.
Yes, so in 1981 is when I first began my first year as an apprentice, and with the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local 172. I served, at that time, they allowed for, if you had time on the job, that could pass as your first year. So I served 4 years. I went to an apprenticeship school for 4 years in 1986. That's when I graduated. So what that happens now, all the employers, and that's all the building trades,
Mm-hmm.
that's all the skilled
Mm-hmm.
trades, the operating engineers, the carpenters, the IBW, the painters, the glazers, bricklayers, they all their apprenticeships, they are paid by the employer. So the person, your employee that you've hired, they are not paying to go to school. They're going to school now for a 5-year program. They're working while they're going to school, and most of these trades apprenticeships now also come out with an associate's degree when they graduate. So that is post secondary education. No, I higher education is what we've got to strive for. Not every single person is designed to meet the needs of going for to a university or college, but for a vocational school, or if you go through apprenticeship, I'm going to tell you what, there's a lot of people today coming through these apprenticeships. Some of them actually went to college and they couldn't find a job in the field of what they were looking for. So they went through the apprenticeship, they're working, and they're coming out making more money. They're paying back their student loans. But you know what? For those that want to work with their hands, that's what I've done all my life. I'm going to be 60 years old this year, and looking at bringing my children into this business right now. And I have I've succeeded. I'm a measure of success in coming through an apprenticeship and going through the work field of a union environment, and I'm a business owner, and all my employees are going to have those same opportunities.
That's what's up, and those things are so appreciated. Now, I mentioned education because obviously in Indiana we have a brain drain. When we have amazing colleges and universities, and and people are getting that education and then leaving. We have a situation where we have a shortage of teachers. Indiana seems to be neglecting its needs and making sure that we have a robust, educated society within our 92 counties to make sure that we still can grow our economy with, talented people. You've been in that state house a minute, man. What we got to do to get these folks to give our teachers a raise and stop siphoning money out of public education?
Well, look what I was just saying earlier. The employers in the trades pay their apprentices to go to school. So, I'm not certain that we can bring about free education, but I think we can go a long way. Why can't we give new teachers that are coming into, because we do have a teacher shortage, and there could be a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons are because of their pay. Their pay is insubstantial, and we're always wanting to try to do different options for pensions. The best pension they have right now is the pension that they currently have, and that's a defined benefit pension. So we have to fight to keep those things. But why can't we give teachers that want to be educated in Indiana, then they want to work in Indiana afterwards? Why can't we give them a tax credit, or give them a grant, so that reduces the amount of what it costs for their training? And if we give them better pay and the respect they're due, those are people going to want to. This is the profession. That's their love. It's one of the highest professions you can want to attain. We should be looking at right now with one of our highest priorities. I believe that they are looking much stronger than they were, but now we're going through this COVID-19 pandemic, and it's going to be a struggle to try to work through this. But we can't relent on that. We've got to keep trying, because we can't just say, "Oh, okay, well, let's wait a year or two and then we'll think about it again." Look back in 2008. That's when the recession hit, and the recession apparently was only supposed to take just a couple of years. But now it's been 10 years. It's been 12 years. and still not much has changed. I mean, it's been a dozen years, and Indiana for its teachers are their lowest income increase in the entire nation. So we can do better. I know we can.
And see, this is one of this is one of those questions that only you can answer. You are one of 10 people, one of 10 Democrats in our state senate. You have no other choice but to work across the aisle to get things done. But what are they telling you on the other side? What is their explanation for neglecting teacher pay? What is their explanation for putting it on the shelf? I mean, even the governor said in last October, November, he was like, "Yeah, I'll address teacher pay in 2021." What? What are they saying? What are your colleagues? Because these are your colleagues, right? What are they telling you? What are their reasons?
I think for much too long, a great many things in the state of Indiana have not been addressed in the proper need. And they're realizing this not by one by one, they're realizing it in a batch and trying to determine how we can go about fixing these things. And it's just not good enough to address it in the manner we have. This is one of our highest priorities. We know we're competing on a global marketplace. We have since I've been a child. And we are falling behind. Indiana, if they strove to be the best, they strive to be the best. They could be the best. Yeah. And I say this a lot of times. Every once in a while, someone will come up to me and say, how do you do that? I mean, how can you go down there when it's just there's so few of you like that? And that doesn't get to me at all, because it is about, you do have to work across the aisle. You have to work very hard, and you have to be respectful. You got to be civil. I think these are important things. But what if it's not just me now? It's not about me at all. But what if in my case, I didn't? What if there was just one more voice that wasn't there? That, I think, is all the answer. If there were 8 others that weren't there, then if there were 2, wouldn't you still have to have that voice?
Yeah.
All the more urgency you have to speak out with that voice.
Absolutely. So, and you guys put up a fight, and I know while serving as president of Stonewall, it did my heart good to see every one of you, all 9 of you, standing with J.D. Ford, who was our only LGBTQ plus candidate, standing up for comprehensive hate crimes legislation. Yes. It wasn't even a question. You guys were standing there raising that voice, and and trust me, we saw it. We saw it in our community who was fighting for us and make sure that we're protected.
Right.
One of the other.
They saw it in my community too. They saw it in all the communities. I
absolutely.
You are correct, and that's what kept us with our vote. Because sometimes you can say, "Oh no," in the final vote, if you vote this or vote that way. I don't listen to a lot of those things, because I know ultimately when I come back to my community, I have to explain my vote, and I'm either going to do that in a manner that people are going to understand, or all the people already understand, and it's just a given because it's just kind of ingrained inside of you. What you did was the right decision, and that's impacted a lot of my decisions. Sometimes I don't always vote every time in lockstep with my caucus, but I'll tell you what, I know that the things that I've stood my ground on, I have chosen to do that for what's right for my community. And you know what? If later on it's decided, well, that may not have been such a good decision, I'm always going to explain. I'm going to come home and explain what I've done every single time.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I can live by that.
One of the other important committees that you sit on is the Environmental Committee. Indiana, one of the things that drive me crazy, I used to, when I was first out here and giving speeches across the state, I used to talk about what we didn't have. I used to say we didn't have mountains, we don't have oceans. But when you drive around our state, you see how incredibly beautiful it is. When you're in Michigan City and you're in the dunes, or you're down in Switzerland County around the river, I've been to over 50 of the counties, and this is an amazingly beautiful state. Unfortunately, we have legislators who are willing to treat our beautiful state like a trash can. Talk about some of the things that you're seeing in the environmental committee, and the things you hope that you can get accomplished in this next session and your next term.
I think we're seeing some good things.
Okay.
And we're seeing some, in once in a while, Dana, you do see some legislation that gets receives such strong lobbying forces from both sides. And actually sometimes those things I actually think build up a story more so than what it becomes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let me talk about one issue because I want to put this
Okay.
out there. And so this is how I see where they want to go for one way. That's one direction. But right now, I'm going to tell you how I voted on, and I'm not sure what the bill's number is again.
Okay. Okay.
1426, the bill about with the coal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and man, that one was really, really hard on me. But I'm going to bring back when I talk about working people, I believe I was the only person, the only Democrat in the legislature. So right now it's like come to Jesus time.
Okay.
I was the only person in the legislature, Democrat, that did not vote no on that bill. But what I did is I talked to so many people. I'm not saying that I really don't think that bill had a place in this session last year. But when they're talking about for another year keeping these full plants functioning, I see that in terms of what I do, like a Cook nuclear. Now, I don't do this, but a Cook nuclear plant or different plant shutdowns. I see when the trades go in and they keep these places working right. I see that as a place of workplace safety. You know, if you're not going to continue to keep these things safe for the workers that do have to work there, then you're exposing them to danger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I looked at it from that. There,
Okay.
it's not. A lot of people are saying no. You've just given another step in. I had to do what I really felt was right. I knew that you cannot expose workers to unsafe measures. I hope going forward with this 21st Energy Task Force that we're going to begin talking a lot more about renewable energies, how we're going to start incorporating these in, and I know the time is there, but we've got to do it efficiently. And the other part was, I believe, the legacy plant that they were continuing in 3 years. My understanding was the federal government came in and said, that's for our armed forces, that's for our military, and we want to make sure without a doubt we can do that. And so, you know what? I did the hard vote, but yet I came back home and I explained that. We have our third house meeting takes place at the Historical Society, Historical Museum, and the St. Joe County Chamber of Commerce is the one that helps put that together. And amongst all my peers and other legislators, I said exactly why I voted for it and why I did that.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing is, let me just add to this also. My mom she came from her New Kensington, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was a coal miner. He worked 40 years in the mines. He died of the black lung. My grandmother died of cancer. My mom died of emphysema, and she's got 4 other siblings that died of cancer-related diseases. That wasn't hereditary. That was because they grew up in a valley where they burned off the residue of the coal dust, and they lived in a valley of soot. So I know what that means. So because I voted one way, I voted because I saw that, first of all, I didn't believe that piece of legislation really was necessary, but I was not going to try to impact worker safety. So there's a lot of things that are much deeper behind me than meets the eye, and you don't get the chance to talk about that often. But knowing that's where my family came from, and having to see what my mom went through and how she suffered, and knowing it was related to those things, I'd have to be a pretty crazy individual if I didn't stand for environmental measures that's going to have my children and my grandchildren not have to face those things in their future.
Well, you know what? I said it in my opening dialogue, right? You know, you're not going to agree 100% with any one politician. You're just not. I know people who have been married for 50 years and they don't agree 100% of the time. So it's not like here's the deal with, and I know a lot of the people that I talk to. Here's the deal. You know, if you can show integrity as to why you made the vote you made, even if I disagree with you, I can still get down with you. And I think the expectation,
exactly right.
You know, I think the expectation that you have to be in lockstep with my opinion every time you vote is, first of all, impossible, because now you're talking about, 6 million Hoosiers, right?
Exactly.
You're talking about 6 million Hoosiers and you have to be in line with 6 million Hoosiers? That's impossible. But what I appreciate, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but what I appreciate is you said, Dana, this is a come to Jesus conversation. You said, let me explain why I voted this way.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know people are probably
I
like,
use the opportunity to explain who I am, and I stand with that.
yeah,
From day one, my first days as an elected official, and I've said that I've stood upon this, that you're never ever going to have everyone agree with you. But you know what I do? I believe thoroughly that everyone, whether or not they're going to take your stance or not, everyone agrees and they respect someone that's willing to fight for what they believe in,
absolutely.
and fight for not just what they believe in, what they believe other people want them to fight for.
Absolutely.
So that's the kind of person I've been. I'm a down to earth, common sense guy.
Well, and you're not saying, well, the devil made me do it. You know, I mean, you're not putting blame on you.
No.
Because
if the buck stops, it stops with me.
Yeah.
If I'm responsible for something, or somebody wants me to answer something, I've been to. It's been a few years, but I can remember in my days in the county council that there were things that people didn't agree with. I was supportive of common wage construction ordinance, and we passed that thing, and it was a strong ordinance. I can remember sitting with a group of employers at that time, and I was the only one in that meeting, and all they did was yell at me the whole time. And I said, just calmly, like, well, that's okay. This is your opinion. You got your voice, but I'm here to listen. I did come. I'm here, and I'm letting you yell at me. So at the very least, please recognize that.
Yeah. Oh, that means the world to me, especially right now where we have someone who is supposed to be running our nation. He really ain't. Who's supposed to be running our nation.
The buck has to stop with the person that is construed of being the leader in what you do. I'm the state senator in District 10. I am construed to be a leader. If I do something where I feel that it could have been an error, or it doesn't matter if it had none of my doing, you have to do the best you can. You do not shirk that off. You have a team of people that work with you, and you say we're doing their best, but the buck has to stop with you. You cannot walk away from that responsibility. It doesn't mean everybody's going to point their finger and say, you are the worst, you are to blame. Not if you take that responsibility and try to work with it and just do your best. Oh my God, what we're seeing is just, we all know it's so reprehensible. It's not anything that we have ever witnessed in our entire lives. And it's just, I'm not going to go trouncing on, that's not what this is about here.
We do love shows over here. We do love fest.
That's not what I'm here for. The point is, when you're a leader, you're supposed to do your best to lead.
Well, what I found out, Senator, is that we have a lot of elected officials, but not a lot of elected leaders, and therein lies the difference. Before we kind of segue, I want you to talk about a few more things that you're on the ballot this year. You run every 4 years. Talk about some of the other issues that you want us to know that you are fighting for and why you're running again.
Well, once again, if I'm reelected, which I hope to be, we got 7 days now to the election. I'm going to absolutely carry another bill for adoption subsidies. You're gonna see me carry other workforce bills. The prevailing wage, we still should be able to have those wages. I think we're going to find out in a very harsh manner several years from now how that did not do us any good to do that. I think that, I'm still going to sponsor legislation. If it doesn't get heard, they're going to at least know it's out there, and I don't do that just to file a bill and say, well, sorry, I didn't get a hearing. No, but sometimes you do those things to make a statement. So there's an awareness that, you're not intending on going away. And one day when people decide that they want to, they feel that the current majorities aren't doing their job to the best of their ability, then it's going to come time that the pendulum will swing, and we're going to start talking about these things again. I'm going to always be involved with pension issues. I believe that people should have the right and the ability to have some type of retirement pension or savings. It's only right. Minimum wage. This COVID pandemic has shown us stark evidence of just really how stagnant our wages are. And so, people are talking about hazard pay and things for essential workers. They should have these opportunities, but, right now with everything, the way havoc is being wreaked, we cannot forget we must remember that Look at the workers in the nursing homes. Look at the wages they're making. There, I mean, the people that are on the front lines. It's just amazing that we will not be able to turn our heads any further,
Mm-hmm.
any longer. And not that I've been turning my head, but many have. And you know what? We're going to have to face this. We're going to have to seek to give them better pay, because even when they're not doing hazard pay, or they're not being, they're essential all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they should be treated, with respect.
Absolutely. I tell you what, you're a good guy. I knew you was a good guy a long time ago, and I told you up in St. Joe when I was up in South Bend for trivia night. I said, if you ever need me for anything when it comes to any of the pieces of legislation that you are working on, and you need a big mouth, I am here for you, because I'm telling you, when you are talking about taking care of families more than anything else, that means the world to me, because that means you're talking about how to improve the lives of Hoosiers, because that's what I live for. That's what wakes me up in the morning and gets me to do what I'm doing. So whatever help you need from me, you just let me know. I am there. Indiana's Own is here for you to help you out whatever you need. So tell me.
Well,
Go ahead.
I appreciate that. And what I say to you is, you can call it anything you want, but I'd say you're a strong voice speaking truth to reality.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. So tell the people how they can find you, so they can volunteer for your campaign, donate to your campaign, find out more information about you.
You can find me very easily. I'm very accessible. If you just Google Niedzgodski for Senate.com, you're gonna find a list that's going to take you, a very short list. It's going to take you straight to my campaign literature. I'll tell you what, campaign literature. There really hasn't been any campaign literature.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
I've done this entire election campaign is I have called my constituents. I've called the residents of South Bend, St. Joe County, Mishawaka. I've called them on the phone and asked how they're doing. I've done my best, in my best ability, to provide resources to them, to provide information on where to find those resources. And, ultimately, I'm going to ask for their vote. That's going to come in my last mailing that's going to go on all their kitchen tables. But each step of the way, all I've done is give them information. The latest mailing gave all the two early voting locations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This Friday is going to have the 12 voting locations in all throughout St. Joseph County, where people can vote in any one of those places. My very first mailing, I attached a ballot for an absentee ballot application, and I put actually 2 ballots. So I sent that to all the households that were within the district I represent. So to provide a better ease for people, and also people could feel safe to vote. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people early voting and voting on election day, but going from 120, I think it was 128 election sites down to 12, I'm still not sure how you could ever truly get all that word out. I hope that people are going to come out to vote, but I hope that by far and large, the majority of them have already voted through absentee.
Absolutely, mail-in voting is on its way. I wish somebody on the other side would tell me why it don't work, because we have multiple examples of how mail-in voting increases voter turnout, which is what we want, and that's what we want more people to be involved in our political process, not less. Hello.
We've already had 5 times. We've already had 5 times the amount of people that have voted in the state of Indiana that voted I believe, in the entire year in 2016 election.
Absolutely, because this is a citizen government.
We are doing great.
Yes, this is a citizen government, baby, and it's all about the citizens being involved, and that's what I was talking about earlier. If you don't like the directions that something is going in, you have to be involved and change the policies.
Right.
Senator, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I'm sorry if I'm gushing on you. Indiana's Own is all about love, and Turn Left is all about love. But you were one of my favorites. You're out there. I missed Dingus Day this year. I hate we didn't have it.
We all did. Yes, we missed the Memorial Day parade yesterday. Yeah. That parade goes right past. It starts right at just about 1 block away from my house. Goes down through the heart of the west side of South Bend. It's so incredible. We did, the mayor did come out and redesignate the sign, and there was a scholarship award actually given. It was my wife, Sheila, who's now the 6th District Councilwoman in the city of South Bend. She was able to present the scholarship awards to him. But I'm going to tell you what, there would have been thousands of people lining those streets if we would have done that. So there's a lot of things we're missing. But you know what? I'm going to tell you what, we're going to grow stronger through this, and we're going to survive. And we're going to do that together. And we're going to do it hand in hand. So I want to say to the great Dana Black, thank you so much.
Man, we're gonna send you back to the State House so you can keep fighting, brother. That's what we're gonna do.
I appreciate you you talking to me tonight. I hope to be reelected, and I'm working very hard to do that.
Well, you keep working. Indiana's own Dana Black, turn left. Senator David Niedzgodski. Y'all make sure y'all find him. If you like what he's talking about, support him, support his campaign, and let's send him back. And then we're going to try to get him some help in the Senate because that supermajority is killing us, y'all. All right.
That sounds really good.
All right, we're going to call it a night. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Indiana's own Dana Black, turn left. We are bringing you the people who want to represent you across the state. Yes, it is called Turn Left for a reason. I'm not interviewing independents. I am not interviewing Republicans. This is about Democrats because we need our voices heard. There's enough right-leaning radio all over the state of Indiana. This is where Democrats come to fellowship and love on each other. That's what we do. That's what we do. But we also want to give you information about the issues that matter to us and how they feel about them. All right, I will see y'all on Thursday when I bring you 2 more candidates who want to represent you. Listen, y'all, it's too important to stay home. 2020 is they say it every 2 years. This is the most important election of your lifetime. But for real though, this one is. We've got to show up and show out and make sure that every Hoosier has an opportunity to live their best life. I'm out of here. I will see y'all on Thursday. Peace.